Okay, so for some reason, I always get a surge of energy to read at the end of the year. So we're going to be doing a 24-hour readathon. However, we're doing it the way that won't have me angry at everybody all week, which just means we are just going to have a timer. When I'm reading, we'll start the timer. When I stop reading, we'll stop it. And so we'll actually fully be reading for 24 hours. Because listen, you know how some people get hangry? I get what I like to call slangry. If I'm sleepy, so that's how we're doing this 24-hour readathon. I'm going to read a variety of books. I am a mood reader, so I'm just going to pick up whatever calls to me. I'm hoping that I will be able to get some arts in there, some 2025 releases, also just some backlist stuff that I've just been meaning to get to. But the first book that I'm going to start with is Everybody in My Family Has Killed Someone. And this has been a book that I've been wanting to read all year long. Like, the premise just sounds like, who wouldn't? Y'all have some family issues. Y'all need to go to a therapist or something. But we're going to see what it's like. I have it physically, obviously, but I also just downloaded it from Libby. So I am going to put my headphones on because I have a few things I need to do around the house. This week is going to be a fun week. And I say week because I'm assuming it's going to take me all week to read these 24 hours. It's the week before Christmas, and I'm actually hosting a Christmas party at my place this year. And so I'm getting some of like the goodie bags ready and stuff right now. So I'll take you guys kind of along my process as I'm decorating and doing all of that. But let's go ahead and get into the reading. So before I talk about my reading for the day, I realized I didn't tell you guys what I was putting in these little goodie bags. So I'm just gonna go through my own so I don't have to redo anybody else's. Theme this year is a camp theme. So I'll just quickly go through what's in the bag. First up is the itinerary and camp rules. The camp rules are just kind of like stupid, funny camp rules. So for example, one says, do not bribe camp counselor. That's me. It says, unless it's with cookies, lemon bars, or old fashions. 3 of my favorite things. And then there is some personalized stuff in here. So we have a little camp mug that says Camp Quad on it. And then with everybody has one with their name on the back. And then on the inside, my mom made us all ornaments. They just say Quad Christmas 2024. And then our names on the back. And then the next thing I think is so cute that my mom helped coordinate for me are these shirts. They're just like these camp feeling shirts, and they just have Camp Quad 2024 logo on the corner, and I think those turned out so cute. And then every year we try to do some type of goal setting activity, and so because this year was a camp theme, I decided we'd do like badges and pins or like a badge earning ceremony. So everybody has an embroidery hoop, some fabric so that they can like hang it up and see what they've earned. And then everybody already has a few badges already in their bag that kind of pertain to some of the goals that they have set this year. I asked everybody before they came if they could send me like 1 or 2 so that I could order specific patches. And these are from Girl Scouts Official. Okay. I felt a little bad ordering from the Girl Scout website, but then I was a Girl Scout for like 10 years. So on my honor, I will try. You know, so I figured it was fine. But they're super cute. So for example, one of my goals is to make sure I continue to work out and stay healthy. So have that cute little badge. And then another badge is to stay consistent on YouTube. So I have a little owl with a little camera, which is so cute. And then over here on the side, everybody will be able to pick a few pins that can go with other goals that they have. And then also in everybody's bag, I made these little like badge cards. So it just says badge name and how to earn. So this will go along with their badge or their pin. And then once they earn it, they can put it on their embroidery hoop with their fabric. But as far as my reading goals, I am about 3 hours into my 24 hours. And I am really enjoying Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I'm mostly listening to it on audio, and I love the fact that clearly the audiobook is going to be different than the physical book, because there's points in the audiobook where the narrator calls out the fact that you're listening to an audiobook, which I really like. The narration and point of view of this story is so interesting, because we're following our main character, who's obviously a part of this family, but they are on a family reunion vacation sort of thing, and someone on the vacation dies, someone that they don't know who this guy is or who killed them, and while we're trying to figure out this mystery, we're also learning about the family dynamics. But the point of view is so interesting because it's a first person narration, but the narrator is also taking the time out to directly talk to us and like give us hints about how the book is going to go. So for example, at the very beginning of the book, the author tells us what chapters someone is going to die in. They also kind of give us hints or like foreshadowing, but I don't even know if you'd really call it foreshadowing, because he kind of just flat out tells you like, oh, me and her are gonna kiss in this chapter. And so it's just like such an interesting point of view, and I'm just really enjoying it because it's a lot of humor in this book, but also I feel like there's gonna be a lot of themes just about family, family trust, lack thereof. Right now, first 3 hours of this video is going good. So I'm popping in. Oh, where's my phone? You guys need to see the timer. Hold on. Popping in to give an update that there is not much of an update yet. So I still have 18 and a half hours left, but that's because I did have my quad friend Christmas and all my friends just left and we had an absolute blast, but we always do. My heart is just very full. But as far as my reading goes, I've read like a couple more chapters since I've talked to you guys last, and I'm still enjoying it, but I do feel like I'm gonna have to like backtrack a little bit and start reading this physically, because I'm getting to a few scenes where I'm like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Like Dr. Phil, there's like a scene with a coffin and I'm like, how did we get here? And I don't know if I missed that or this book is just absolutely insane, but I think I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit. I wanted to give you guys an update before I head to my parents' house for the Christmas break, because if you watch one of my most recent vlogs where I was trying to read 7 books in 7 days, you know I gotta whisper when I'm in that house and I don't like that. Hopefully I'm gonna get over my fear of like filming in front of my family, but we'll see how that goes. So dysfunctional families are either hit or miss for me, and this one was definitely a hit. I had mentioned in a previous clip that it felt like a lot was going on, and that is an accurate statement. When the author was kind of telling us the solution to the mystery and like who did what and why what was happening, I was confused, but I mean, at the end of it, I mean, I think it all did make sense. We also learned how everybody in the family has killed someone, and I think that way that was done really well. However, I will say though that the person behind all of this, I kind of had an inkling that that's what it was. So you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief when the narrator's kind of telling us and revealing everything, because there's one piece of this that I was like, now how did y'all not know? And I can't say what it is because it would give part of the book away. But overall, I loved the narrative of the book. I think this would make a really good like Netflix movie, something you could watch with your family, something that's kind of fun, something where, you know, everybody's trying to piece something together. So I did enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping. Like, this was feeling like a 5-star based on the synopsis, but it wasn't quite that. So I think I'm going to give it a 4-star. So still very solid read. Just not like my favorite of all time, but I'll definitely read from this author again. And it's the day after Christmas. And I actually got a little Kindle for Christmas, which I'm very excited about. It is very small, I will say. Like, this is my phone and then this is the Kindle. But I actually really do like this. I was reading with it last night, and I'm someone who typically loves to read physically. However, when I'm reading in bed, I end up just giving up a lot of the time because I get uncomfortable, or, you know, I'm trying to get under the covers and I just can't, or like I'm trying to position the book the right way when I'm laying down and I just can't do that either. So I did find myself being able to stay up a little later with this because I was able just to kind of prop it up and just tap through it. But with that being said, I did start reading, what is the name of the book? I did start reading How High We Go in the Dark. I was reading it on my Kindle, but I was also listening to the audiobook via Libro FM, and I'm about 35% of the way through. And so I'm about 14 and a half hours left on reading. And so you can see it's only showing like a little bit of the time being lapsed because I actually had to restart my clock, and I just wanted to be honest about that because one night I was reading this and I fell asleep, and I just didn't have time to stop the clock. So when I woke up, a lot of time had passed, and I didn't want to count that towards the reading. So I remembered kind of where I was at when I had like kind of fell asleep, so I had to reset everything. And so How High We Go in the Dark, I'm actually really enjoying this so far. It took me a little bit to kind of get acclimated with the setting and the storyline, but once I did, I was really intrigued. I'm actually like itching to pick this back up like immediately. We're in a world, it's 2031, where there is a pandemic or a virus going around that's really only affecting kids right now, but it's affecting them to the point where hospitals are overrun, care centers are overrun. But there is an amusement park that will help the kids pass on in a very gentle and fun way. And this book does have multiple POVs. Right now, we haven't returned to any of the POVs where I'm at in the book. It's just like kind of these solo ones, and I'm curious to see if we're going to go back to them. One of the first POV is one of the men who discovered the virus. Then we're following someone who works at that amusement park. We're following someone who has the virus and is in kind of this limbo stage between life and death, it feels like. So it's very interesting, and I'm interested to see like how the story goes. I love all of the POVs so far, so that's why I said I hope that we get to revisit them. We're also starting to see how some of these POVs are connected a bit as well. Yeah, I'm loving reading these in tandem with my Kindle and via audio, so I'm going to continue to do that. But before I do that, I think I'm going to try and work out a little bit. One of my goals for the new year is to just be more consistent when it comes to being healthy, working out, all of that. So I'm not going to go crazy today. I think I'm just going to do like a 30-minute Pilates class here at home. But I really want to get back to reading, which is not something I've said in a while. Barnes & Noble is currently having their big hardback book sale, so I went into the one near my parents' house looking specifically for I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. That was the only book I went in there looking for, and they didn't have it. So I actually walked out of that sale with nothing because I'm trying to get better about being intentional about the books that I buy, because I knew this about myself but it's really setting in that I am not a quick reader. So me buying all of these books when I don't read as fast as I would like just doesn't really make sense in general, and definitely doesn't make sense for my wallet. But I may try and go to another Barnes and Noble tomorrow, because that's when the sale ends, just to see if I can try to find it. But I also did finish How High We Go in the Dark. And have you ever read a book and you're just like, yep, this book is right up my alley. This book was meant for people like me. So the story continued to talk about the evolution of this plague and how it was impacting people. And this is one of those like sci-fi books that it gives you the satisfaction of exploring the different elements of possibility. It kind of goes into like, oh, trying to find a new planet, getting away from the plague. It talks about like virtual reality and how people would come together in a time like that. I just love that it explored all of those different avenues through different POVs, and those POVs did connect. Sometimes it was easy to miss, like they would get connected through one sentence in the book. And even though it was a sci-fi book, sometimes I feel sci-fi gets so heavy into the sci-fi that it's kind of like a mystery, or you kind of miss like this human connection element. And I feel like this book blended those together so well. And I feel like some of the POVs I would love to read as its own book. Like there was one POV that talked about, you know, essentially like a small colony leaving Earth, trying to find a new planet. And the way that it was written and the POV, I could have read an entire book of just that. I realized as I was like, oh, maybe I'll give this book like a 4.5 or something. And I was like, I don't know why I'm being so stingy with my 5 stars this year. Because I was like, maybe I'll give it a 4.5. But I think I am going to give it a 5 star. I really, really did enjoy this. And now because I enjoyed it, I think I am going to buy myself a physical copy because it makes sense. So I have about 9 hours left of the 24, and that's because I actually started and finished No Exit, and I just haven't given you guys an update. So this is one of those books that I feel like I hear so much about, or I heard so much about when it came out, because apparently it was a genre bending type of book. Like this was a thriller that people just like really ate up, and they were just like, this is the best thriller I've ever read. I have a differing opinion, okay? This book is about a girl who gets trapped in a snowstorm. She's on the way to go see her dying mother, essentially, but she has to pull over at a rest stop to wait until the snowstorm rolls through. And so at this rest stop, there are some other strangers, but as she's walking into the rest stop, she realizes that there's a little girl in the back of one of the vans that is sitting out there. So she realizes somebody inside is a kidnapper of some sort, and she takes it upon herself to try to free the girl and figure out what's going on. I just didn't really like the protagonist in this book. I feel like a lot of her decisions just were so rash, so uncalculated, so unplanned, and yet her decisions still like kind of worked out for her. And I just didn't like that. Her and her decisions aside, I will say that the book did have a lot of like twists and turns. There was a lot of like unexpected things that happened. The antagonist in here, I feel like he was even luckier than she was. And I don't know, it was just very interesting. I guess towards the end, I could kind of see how people felt like this was a book that wasn't really like something they'd ever read before. But I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty underwhelmed by this. I could see how this would make a good TV show, so I might like try to watch the Hulu, Netflix adaptation of it to see if maybe I like that better. But unfortunately, I was disappointed by this. And so, I mean, it wasn't bad by any means, but I think I'm just going to give it like a 3.25, a 3.5. It just was kind of okay to me. And since I have about 9 hours left, that means I can either read one really long book or 2 semi-short books. And the way that my attention span is set up right now, I think I'm going to do 2 short books. So I'm gonna peruse through my Libro to see what's kind of short and that I'm interested in right now. And then we'll come back and we'll make a decision. Because right now, my brain capacity doesn't want to make any decisions. All right, so I read for about an hour and a half yesterday, so I have about 7 hours left. So I ended up picking up Beautyland last night, and I feel like I wanted to pick this up because I wanted to pick another sci-fi book. I feel like I was on the high of How High We Go in the Dark, and I was like, give me another one. I don't know if this one is going to be in the same sphere as How High We Go in the Dark. This is almost feeling more like a literary science fiction, which I've never read before. I can't even really tell you what the plot is, because I'm not sure if there's necessarily a plot, but we are following this girl. I guess she's a girl, but she got sent from like another universe, planet, to Earth to send back information to her kind, to her planet. And the way that she is communicating with them is through an old fax machine. But it's interesting because it's almost like we're getting to see Earth from the point of view of someone who's not from Earth. And so we're watching her as she's going from like a child to young adolescent. She's learning about sex. She's learning about relationships between people, whether it's friendships, whether it's romantic relationships. And the way that she's just describing stuff, you know, because it's not inherent to her as like a human being, it's just really interesting. And why I said that I feel like there's not really a plot is because I don't know where the story is going to go. There's not any type of like catalyst that's really moving the book forward other than her growing up, living and learning things. So it's really feeling like light sci-fi. It's feeling like literary sci-fi, literary fiction with a sprinkle, a dash of sci-fi, which isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. I still have about 7 hours left, which seems like a long time considering tomorrow is December 31st. And I plan to have this video out before the new year, which doesn't look like it's gonna happen because it's already 10 p.m. and I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna read for an hour, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but I gotta make some progress. I'm gonna read for an hour, lay down, and we'll pick it up tomorrow, and maybe I'll get some reading done during work tomorrow. So I ended up staying up way past my bedtime last night to finish Beautyland because I was actually really enjoying it, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was. So my initial kind of assessment of me thinking this was more of a literary fiction instead of a sci-fi, it was definitely correct. We do talk about an alien. We do talk about her communicating to her kind and her species. We talk about spaceships coming to save her. But at the end of the day, the book really is about the human experience and how she's translating it and how she's living it. And even though she's an alien, I feel like she probably understands humanity a lot more than humans do. She ends up writing a book talking about her experience as an alien and what it's like to be living on Earth. And of course, some people take this as like a metaphor. Some people think she needs psychological help because she's not an alien, but it covers a lot of the things that everybody kind of deals with in their day-to-day life. It talks about growing up. It talks about relationships, whether that's with your parents, whether that's with loved ones, romantic, friendships. This book also handles grief very well. You know, I think if you've experienced grief at all, whether that's like animal or pet loss, whether that's a loss of a friend or a family member, this book I think covers it really well. And all of that to me was just so surprising because technically our main character isn't human. Also some humor in this book. So I'm usually not one to highlight, but because I've gotten the Kindle, it's a little easier for me to like reference quotes and stuff. And so in this book, you know, she is sending these notes back and forth to her superiors or her kind back home, and she's sending it through this fax machine. And so she'll sometimes send something and notes on the human experience, and then they'll send something back. And there are other people or aliens like her that are there to study other things on Earth. But one of the notes she sent to them said, "The ego of the human male is by far the most dangerous aspect of human society." And their response was, "This has been well documented." It was just so funny to me because it's like, absolutely correct. But I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. Wasn't necessarily what I was expecting going into the book, but I was definitely very pleasantly surprised. And so with that, we have, oh my gosh, please don't tell me my timer went away. Oh my God, that didn't happen. Oh, I don't know what I pressed, but my timer went away. It says 0, but I know that I'm at 3 hours and 10 minutes, the last time that I looked at it. So I'm going to reset the timer. Oh my gosh. Know that I have 3 hours and 10 minutes left because I actually did start The Repeat Room by Jessie Ball earlier when I was at work. And I actually haven't seen anybody talk about this on BookTube or Bookstagram yet. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but the premise of this is actually really interesting to me, and the publisher sent it to me. It just says, there is this secretive jury system where essentially they choose one juror out of hundreds of candidates, and that juror is able to see the defendant's experience through their eyes in what they call the repeat room. But right now I'm still at the beginning of the book, and so we're kind of learning how the jury system works. We're kind of learning about the character. We're learning a little bit about the defendant. We don't know too much about the case yet, and the synopsis in the front says we don't learn about what the case actually is covering until the second act of the book. So more to come there, but I'm really excited about this, and I do have the audio for this as well. And I think it's only going to take me about 2.5 hours to finish, but I'm not resetting that clock no more. So once this book is done, we're done. We have finally come to the end of the road for this vlog. And I finished The Repeat Room the other night, and this book isn't exactly what I was expecting. I feel like the first half of the book and the second half of the book kind of felt completely different. So in the first half of the book, it felt more sci-fi because we're learning about the jury system. We're learning about how people are getting picked, the things you have to go through to get picked. We learn that if you make it to a certain point in the jury selection, then you get a higher ranking in society, because apparently this society you're ranked, so it provides more privileges, it provides better jobs. And so you getting picked to be the juror or even making it through to a certain stage, you are just better set up in life. And then some of the themes that are talked about in the book when it comes to making a better society, all of that, I don't want to give too much away. That felt very dystopian, very sci-fi to me. And then the second half of the book, we learn about the case that our juror is going to be giving a verdict on. And we learn about the case by literally having kind of a first person narrative of the person that is on trial. And so the story really is tragic. There was some unexpected themes. I'll just go ahead and say it. There is some incest involved in this book, which I was just like, whoa, what are we doing here? What's happening? And so that part of the book definitely felt more like literary fiction. But yeah, I'm just like not really sure how to feel about this one. I wish that the themes that were explored in the first half of the book were carried throughout the rest of the book. But with that being said, I still did enjoy it. I thought it was a very interesting premise. I do think it was written well. So I think I'm going to give this a 3.5. It sucks because I was really hoping to include this in my top 10 books of the year, because I've made my list and I have 9 books. So I was hoping that there was going to be a 10th spot that was just very clear in this, but that's not the case. But I do feel like this was a successful vlog, okay? I mean, I technically have like an hour left of reading, but I feel like with all the stops and starts, it's all a wash. And I feel like I had a lot of good books. So just to recap, I had Everyone in the Family Has Killed Someone, which I gave 4 stars. Really enjoyed this one. We'll pick up this author again. No Exit It wasn't exactly what I was hoping, but I'm going to give it a 3.75. I'll round up to a 4 on Goodreads, but because the pacing was done really well, I was kind of on the edge of my seat as I was thinking about it after I had initially reviewed this. So I'm going to give it a 3.75. We had How High We Go in the Dark, which my physical copy is in the mail. Okay, because 5 stars. And you will be seeing that in an upcoming video. And then we had Beautyland, also something that surprised me. Solid 4 stars. It was a mix of sci-fi and literary, but it hit a little bit better for me than The Repeat Room, which I'm also giving a 3.5. So overall, didn't read anything bad. My expectations just weren't met on a few things, but that's okay. I'm glad that I got 5 books read within those 24 hours and got to read those 5 books leading up into the end of the year. So if you made it to the end of this video, leave a clock emoji since this was a timed vlog. And I hope everybody's new year is off to a really good start and that you ended 2024 feeling motivated and relaxed and rested. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.